Okay, so let's get this thing started. Box came in, was really beat up. Luckily, I don't have any real damage. No damage, none that I saw anyway. So after I unboxed it, I went and watched the Sideshow video so I could make sure I was putting everything together in the correct order. And the first thing I'll say is, in the video, Susan has a much easier time putting a couple of these pieces in place. For her, this slotted right in. Mine wiggles a little bit. I don't know if it's seated properly. I can't really seem to get it to go any deeper. I'm going to mess with that a little bit more. The flame coming out of the mouth was a pain to get in place, and that kind of wiggles a little bit. I don't think it's going anywhere, but I'm not sure why they did this slide thing and not just a traditional key. Maybe the shapes on the inside is why. Few of the lava pieces that you add on, this one's pretty steady. But then this one over here, this is the one with the metal key. So that's not going anywhere, but it does wiggle, which is odd to me. And as far as Thor himself, on the Stormbreaker hand, it's not going anywhere. The magnet's strong enough to hold it, but it does wiggle a little bit more than I like. It's not really that big of a deal. I don't plan on displaying Stormbreaker, so it's not, like I said, it's not really that big of a deal. Regular hand doesn't really move, nor does this one. Pins for the cape, I really like that idea. It just allows you to, so I have two other fabric capes now. Superman, and he has slots in his shoulders, and the cape has magnets and it slides in. That one's pretty good. It kind of looks a little awkward, and you gotta mess with the cape a little bit to get it to look correct. The other one I have with a fabric cape before I got this was Batman, and Batman, once it's put together, it looks fine. It's getting the head sits on top of the cape, and the metal wire that's in the cape actually needs to go underneath the head for it to look correct. But there's no slotting in the head for that wire to go through. So you kind of have to really cramp that head down on it, and it still sits a little. There's a little bit more of a visible seam there than I'd like. This, I like the pins. Is obviously Thor's design lends to it with the circles. So the pins here connect the cape, and the wires stop just short of the pins. So if you're really messing with it, it could look a little weird, but actually it really honestly doesn't, because it just kind of looks like the cape's crumpled up around the pin. I'm going to mess with the cape a little bit more to get a slightly better pose. I just kind of got something that I somewhat liked. I wanted to look like the cape was, flying up as he was jumping. The sculpt on this thing, it's Daniel Bel sculpted it, as most of you I'm sure are well aware. Sculpting this thing is phenomenal. It's sculpt wise, it's probably the best piece I have at the moment. I have two other Daniel Bel pieces, Captain America and Daredevil, and I have. That's the. Can't remember. I think those are the only ones I actually have on pre-order at the moment. I will be getting the Flash when that comes out. Daniel is amazing, and the textures he has in like these side panels. See that wiggles and I don't like it. The underside here of the pants, like that looks like a heavy wool fabric. You know, it doesn't look like sculpt. Between his sculpt and then the way they painted it, it's just amazing. Same thing here, the way this is sculpted, that fine little detail, it looks like fabric. And then that level of detail is carried through in the boots too, with the leather pattern, you know, that leather crack pattern on the boots, and his gauntlets a little bit, not as much as on the boots, but then on the front of the tunic and then the pieces that hang down. Base is awesome. Paint wise, I love the look they achieved. Would have been nice if they were able to do some kind of like maybe light up in the eyes. I don't know how that would have worked, but to have the eyes or maybe just like back here light up so you could see light emanating from in his mouth and his eyes, that would have been cool. But that's, you know, pie in the sky stuff. It's not really necessary. They achieved the look they're going for. It looks like, you know, some kind of lava creature. I know it's Serta, you know, one of his greatest enemies and the destroyer of Asgard. The lava plumes they're all sculpted really well. A lot of people, you know, were somewhat afraid of the fact that I saw a few comments of people not liking this current trend, the Sideshow slotting the figure into a piece that then slots into the base and not slotting it into the base itself. This thing, the keyhole on this was massive. The way it slots in, this is not going anywhere. And matter of fact, once I set the figure in, it actually seated itself a little bit more and is that much more stable. So I have no worries about this whatsoever. The horn here is another piece. You can barely see the seam the way it's sculpted, so that's good. The face sculpt is just phenomenal. The eyes are perfect. I have no issue with them whatsoever. You know, the paint on the head, well, the paint on the whole thing is amazing, but around the eyes especially. Now, they probably did the actual like iris and pupil is probably some kind of decal or something. It's very clean if it's hand painted. But what I like is there's a slight pinkness to the edges of the eyes, like where the eyelids themselves, because it's not just skin tone bleeding into white. It's like skin tone going into pink, going into white. The mouth is really, really good. You can see his tongue, and the tongue itself is painted in a way where it differentiates from the palate underneath. You can see his gums. There's separation between the teeth, but not in a way that makes it look like he's got a bunch of chiclets in his mouth. I'm just going over it now, looking for the tiniest detail. Even around here where the straps meet the skin, this piece here, it's clean, But if I had to pick something that stands out to me as the sloppiest portion of the paint job, it might be those, but they're clean. They're just not as clean as, say, like the mouth or something. It is not a complaint at all. This is just amazing. I'm in love. I really am. Wanted a Thor for a long time. I thought about getting the modern Thor, the one that come out previous to this one, and I am so glad I didn't. This is just mind-blowing. A lot of people complained about the color of the skin. It looked purple. He looked dead. I think a lot of that has to do with camera. It might show up a little bit different on camera than it does in person. I don't have bright lights on at the moment. I'm just in natural room light, so maybe that might have something to do with it. But it is shaded so you can see the muscle, and maybe that's where a lot of people have the problem. But that's what we want, right? We don't want a flat paint job. We want shading. We want to be able to see the definition in the muscle. We want the paint to accentuate the sculpt. And I don't think his skin tone looks out of place. I saw a couple of videos where they thought maybe that the skin tone on the head didn't match the arms. I don't see that whatsoever. I think it matches great. Same thing with the hands. The skin tone all matches beautifully. Yeah, it's just amazing. The hair is painted really well. It's very it almost looks like somebody painted strands of hair. I know that's, not what they did, but the way it's painted, those highlights really pop against the darker tones and really make it look like hair. It might be the best hair of any of the. I don't have too many with hair. Actually, most of them have masks. I think maybe the reason why it pops so much to me is because he's blonde, where everybody else is either a dark brown, like Green Lantern's dark brown, Superman's black hair, Wonder Woman's black hair, Joker's green hair, and there are depths and shadow in his hair, but it doesn't pop as much as this does. This really does pop with the way it's painted. It really does. It looks awesome. The eyebrows, done just as well. If I had to say I have a complaint about this, it's probably this piece here, because I'm not sure. I don't think it's seated correctly. I don't see how I'm going to get it seated any better. It's not going anywhere. I can pull on it and it's not going to just pop right out. The way it's seated down, it's not going to fall out of the statue. The way this piece is meant to be displayed is probably from this angle, and from this angle, you can kind of see that seam because it doesn't seem to be sitting 100% correct. That's kind of just nitpicking. Yes, a few of these little lava pieces are a little looser than I'd like, and it could just be because I don't have them seated correctly. Very well may be the case. This one in particular, like I said, this is the one that's got the metal pin in it. This one in particular is very shaky. I think it's supposed to sit right up against that, but it moves, so I'm not sure. Yeah, this piece is awesome. If not sure when I'm gonna post this. I got this on, what's today, the 19th? So I got this on the 19th of August. I'm not sure when I'm gonna post this. Usually the only program I have to edit is on my iPad, and my iPad kind of no longer works, so I can't really edit. So if I do post it, it'll probably post raw. And I apologize for my uhs and ums and is and eh. I'm not really on camera talent or anything like that. I don't write this stuff down beforehand, and you know, I don't have a script. I just kind of look at the piece and say how I feel. Sometimes I have to make noise while I'm thinking. But yeah, it's an amazing piece. If anybody's on the fence about this, I can't imagine why you would be at this point. There's been enough videos on it. There's been enough pictures, and I haven't seen a bad review on it yet, and mine most certainly is not a bad review. Pull the trigger. If you like Thor at all, if you want a Thor, if you don't like dynamic poses, then this isn't the piece for you, because this thing is dynamic 1,000%. But if you like dynamics in your statues, and you have wanted a Thor and haven't pulled the trigger on this yet, do it. I guarantee you will not be dissatisfied. Alright guys, thanks for watching.